Hi everyone, welcome to my review of F.W. Murnau's City Girl from 1930. So yes, here we are, back again with a review, of course, and here it is on Blu-ray, another Murnau film, Master of Cinema, Spy Number 8. So yes, very, very special event here. Before we get into the review, just a very pretty brief note here. You deserve to be aware of this, but over the last week, I guess some people will be wondering what's going on, but basically there's an occurrence. On Wednesday, I uploaded a review, of course, of Apocalypse Now, 55-minute long, and the next day, within a day, it was taken down, removed. I got a notification about this, an email and stuff. I checked. Luckily, after I saw this film, just after, of course, and not during the film or before, because it really, I didn't respond well to it. It kind of ruined my night, actually. And luckily I saw this before, I got the emotions, and then I saw that. But yes, I got notified that my video had been taken down. It turns out, after spending time inquiring, phoning people up and stuff, due to an error within the system, and the overall the process of this whole kind of copyright stuff. But we're not going to dwell on it too much, but even though I use no clips, no music, nothing like that, and always credit, and stuff, wherever necessary, and I always respect, the rules and stuff. Yeah, I got a strike, would you believe? So that didn't, please me. I'm very thankful to the people that are now working on that and have actually requested. I'm just making you aware of this. They requested YouTube to undo this, because it's. And for them to say that, it's clearly going to happen. I can't guarantee anything. I don't really have much faith in this whole system. I'm quite confused with it all. But hopefully that can be back, so people can carry on viewing that review, commenting on it, and discussing that wonderful film. But let's not dwell on that. It's getting sorted out, I hope. I've been told, and I'm very thankful to the individuals that are trying to get it back. And it's not anyone's fault necessarily. It's just within the system, the design and stuff. That's what I've been told. Again, I can't guarantee it'll be up ever. I'm not going to guarantee that, but hopefully, and pretty much, that is going to be up. I don't know when. Eventually, hopefully, very soon. Hopefully, maybe. Ideally before this has been uploaded, but yes, that was just an occurrence I thought you should be aware of. A couple of people commented on the review before it was taken down. I'm not sure if they'll be deleted, even when the same thing can be redone, kind of put on there again, or just removed with the claim and stuff. But yeah, hopefully it's back quickly. But anyway, on a positive note, and it ties into this, just before I received that notification, I watched this film. And here we are, finally, with another Murnau that I was looking forward to, I must say. And Master of Cinema, I really love Master of Cinema. I think I love Criterion, I love Master of Cinema, and these two in particular are just great for these releases. And I love silent cinema so much. And this film, I guess I was looking forward to it a lot more than some of the other Murnau's, because it's more of a straightforward, you could say. It's pitched as romance, kind of drama, and so meant to be a very wonderfully shot film and all this kind of stuff. And of course, I was very much aware that this, as an inspiration for Days of Heaven, which is my favourite Malick film. It's in my top 25 of all time, and that is just one of the very near to being the finest film ever made. It's not far off for me, and that really got me interested as well. So all these things, you kind of going on, and in my mind, and it's one of the last Murnau's. So it's a big event, this, and so I'd seen people talk about this a little bit on YouTube, and just really looking forward to this one. And luckily, I think this definitely delivered, in my opinion. And yes, I have actually watched Faust. While recording this, I've actually I'm reviewing this before Faust, which I watched before this the other day, and we'll get to that. But but that film, also stunned me a bit differently. But yes, this one certainly, you know, I was very, very pleased with this film. I think it's a great, great film, and just, you know, I think what I will say is, you know, and this is not one of the most loved Murnau's particularly, maybe, but I do think, and I understand actually some of the criticism, you know, of this, and but I do think this is quite maybe under appreciated or viewed or you know kind of thing. It's not too seen really in the grand scheme of things. And you know I must say now you know I would highly recommend this film. It's a wonderful film. But yes, I do think it is flawed. We'll get to that, and it does kind of take a turn. You know at a certain point around the 55-minute mark. You know once other characters come into it, but this film you know is just you know, Charles Farrell plays this character of Lem, and basically he's sent to Chicago, you know, by his father, and to sell wheat. Basically, they live on a farm, and he's sent there to the city, Chicago, and basically along the way he meets this waitress, Kate, and she's played by Mary Duncan, and they basically form a romance, and you know, I think, you know, and I'm not going to give too many spoilers or anything, but you know, I'll get into the grand kind of scheme of things, you know, a little bit on and how it kind of how it's structured and stuff, and maybe how some things went different ways. But yes, basically, they form a romance, and you know, just it all unfolds from there. And she dreams of you know, kind of living in the countryside. Of course, you've got a perfect setup here, and basically, yes, you know, he does eventually, you know, quite early on agree to marry her, and yes, they go back to the farm quite early on, really, around the half an hour mark. It's only not even a 90-minute film, very short. But yes, from then on, you know, they meet the family, and you know, there's a lot of drama going on. The father, you know, does not necessarily approve, but yes, you know, it all kind of unfolds from there, and I must say, you know. Based on the first 55 minutes, I preferred this to Nosferatu. That's how masterful it was. I adored this film, and I do love the film in its entirety overall. But I was, you know, it slightly went off. But just judging on that first 55 minutes, I absolutely worshipped this film. It would have been in my top 200 films of all time that I've seen. That's how good it was. And I just think it was truly, truly wonderful. It was pure. It was so moving. Beautiful film. Very grounded. You know, these characters and the situations. Many awkward moments of comedy. You know, early on. There's such an emotional undercurrent to the character of Kate. She's such a great, great character. The performance is wonderful. You know, throughout. But yes, you know, this character and this character of Lem. You know, as a kind of you know, this guy who goes to the city, and you know it's so interesting the dynamics here. You know how they're from different sort of worlds. She's from the city, wanting to come, you know, live in the countryside, and you know it's just so wonderful how you know they kind of get married and they go there, and you know there's a moment where they do arrive, you know, at the farm, and I think you'll know what I'm on about once you see the film. They start you know kind of running through the fields. That's one of the most joyous, kind of beautiful, uplifting moments I've ever seen. I was kind of in awe of this, and I was just smiling, and I couldn't believe it. And I thought, okay, now we're gonna you know go into some real heights here. And it really actually, I was certainly just as invested, if not more invested. You know, until that 55-minute mark. You got to meet the mother as well, and or more, and her you know interactions. It's so beautiful how she you know, kind of responded to Kate, of course. And yes, you know, not going to get into the rest of the film too much in detail, but the father, of course, is the one who doesn't approve of this, and yeah, there's a lot of friction there, and it leads to masterful drama at times, and just something that I was truly, truly invested with, and it was just definitely. I certainly will say now I did prefer it at that point to Nosferatu, which is a masterpiece, one of the best films ever made. But this, I think, I would have actually yeah, preferred it. And then you know these characters come into it, and I see what it's doing. I see what it's doing is mirroring the way that this character of Kate has been treated. You you know, in the city, and as her role and stuff, you know, as a waitress, her job, and then, you know, she comes here, and then this comes into it, and it's kind of like a mirroring going on, you know, very powerful and very sad, but basically, yes, there's things that happen. I'm not going to get into too much, but basically, certain characters come into it, and they're not, you know, as compelling as they could have been, and it starts to take a bit of a turn. It focuses on another character in particular who's, you know, involved and stuff, and it starts, you know, interfering with Kate and Lem, basically their relationship, and yes, basically, you know, it kind of goes. It's a very, very different film at times, about 25 minutes, and then around the 80-minute mark. You know, I can't be exact, but that's when, you know, the film starts to, you know, kind of comes to a conclusion. And actually, I did love it once again. You know, and the actual ending, while, you know, maybe a little bit underdeveloped, and maybe I would have wanted more. You know, kind of wrap up personally, and stuff, because it's such a big, you know, film in scope. You know, and even though it's got short runtime, it was, you know, it was kind of, in many ways, kind of an epic, actually. But yes, you know, kind of, I could understand someone says a cut-off ending. I didn't quite see it as that, but it's not a one that, you know, is quite as full, you know, as developed as it could have been. But I loved it, you know, in the sense that how it kind of panned out, you know, and how it ended up. Very, very moving, of course, and just a wonderful, wonderful ending. And yes, but, you know, quite a portion of the film, you know, 25 minutes really, or just under that, you know, is stuff I just wasn't as compelled, you know, with, wasn't as engaged in, and you know, it maybe slightly the characters of Kate, and especially Lem, actually, slightly, I personally feel just acted a bit out of character, and it was just, you know, wow, the levels that I loved this film before that, and you know, just my investment wasn't quite loving, you know, this film kind of mark, which is a shame, because it was just honestly perfect until then, and literally one of my favourite films, you know, but this film, yes, it does have some flaws, as I say, and that's really the only flaws at all in the film. Even then, I think it's very good. In them 25 minutes, very good / good, never average. It's always above average. It's just never quite great, and I you know, certainly didn't love overall that segment of the film. You know, and these characters that come in, you know, the workers, basically for the farm, you know, just without spoiling at all, just aren't, you know, I don't think they're great characters. I just didn't enjoy this as much as I could have done, and it wasn't, you know, I maybe think, as I say, slightly out of character for these some of these characters, but luckily you've got other things going on in the background at the same time, and you know, stuff that did really, really work, and you know, performances, you know, Mary Duncan, absolutely wonderful in this film, you know, wonderful performance here, and you know, Charles Farrell, you know, absolutely brilliant in this film. You know, he's so likable, and very quite a gentle character, especially early on. He's one that, you know, it's very very human. You know, he doesn't respond in particular ways that you would maybe expect to certain scenarios, but it's just, you know, I think his character, you know, is certainly a great one. You know, he's very, as I say, very likable, very charming, but very kind of a gentle character, quite shy at times, maybe quite awkward, and it was so relatable, and you know, just focus on the first act. This is just one of my favourite, you know, opening acts to a romance film. You know, it was just so perfect. The way that the characters, you know, kind of come into contact, you know, they cross lives, is beautiful. It's one of them classic romances, in my opinion, if you ask me. Had everything, you know, got everything right, and the individual motivations, the exposition to these characters, wonderful stuff. And you know, at the same time, you have got these characters, the family, of course, getting developed. You know, the father, the mother, and you know, there's another daughter as well there. They're getting developed really wonderfully as well in the background, before Lem returns with Kate to the farm quite early on, of course, and as I say, around the half an hour mark, and it just all gets wonderfully built up. It's just the fact that, you know, when these other characters come into play a bit more, as I say, around the 55-minute mark, or just around that moment, you know, it starts to you know, kind of go downhill a bit, certainly, and you know, I don't think it's less than great overall, because it was just so exceptional, you know, until that. And actually after that, you know, the ending was really, I loved, well, not quite its potential. It was certainly a great ending in my opinion, but you know, I can't deny that roughly 25 minutes was definitely not as enjoyable, you know, and it just didn't. I wasn't as engaged emotionally. I was a bit kind of, I was kind of saddened at the way it went a little bit, but that's because I was so wrapped up in it. And I think this is a great film. It's one of the best shot films at times that I've ever seen, as you would really expect from quite a few Murnau's if you've seen his work. You know, it's truly stunning. Some of the shots are, you know, maybe, you know, in terms of the framing and stuff, maybe, yeah, a little bit similar to some of the shots in Days of Heaven, but you know, kind of referencing maybe in Days of Heaven, but you know, you can't compare the visuals, you know, to Malick, especially that one. But you know, it's just a wonderful film. This, the editing is stunning, not a false note there. The acting throughout, from pretty much everyone, is absolutely stunning, and I was just so moved by this romance, how sincere this film was, and tying in film themes of poverty, and you know, it's set in the Great Depression, of course, you know, and it's such a powerful film in the way they're kind of struggling. You know, there's discussions about the price, of course, you know, about Lem, you know, selling the wheat and stuff. It's just so interesting in that sense, in the way it's done, and you know, adds so much to his character, his struggle as well, and he's kind of having to, you know, do this for his family, act, of course, for them, and you know, the father. I think the father, you know, Lem's father, is such a great character. You know, dynamics, of course, that, you know, kind of play off between different characters in the film. It's kind of many different relationships in the film, and the father, of course, he adds so much to this, and you know, but I think the way it ends is just so wonderful, and but yeah, you know, it's a film with a lot of drama, you know, but it's also a film that's at times truly you know, uplifting, and just wow, beautiful film overall, and you know, I'm not going to give it full marks, of course, you know, certainly not to that, because for a 90-minute film, unfortunately, you know, for 25 minutes of that to be, you know, maybe at least good, but no more than very good, you know, I can't, you know, give it more than a 92%, but that is, you know, an extremely high score from me, you know, no doubt, of course. I love this film. It's still going to go on my favourite films list, just not anywhere near as close to what it could have been. It would have been my top 200, because, you know, just I suppose after that 55-minute mark, it was never the same. Even the ending, and you know, if it had continued with the first, you know, before this, of course, and if that had been, you know, the ending even had been as good as that, and of course, the entire rest of the film, you would be seeing, you know, there's probably another film into my my plus tiers. I absolutely adored it. It did disappoint me at times after that, and you know, it's fine. You know, it is flawed, and that's fine. And it's something that doesn't quite, you know, follow through in the ways that I wanted. But regardless, I do love this film. I think it's a great film, and the music was very nice as well. You know, it's quite wonderful at times. You know, and it's just these characters. You know, these two characters especially, but the family as well. The way the mother responded to Kate was, I was quite overwhelmed by the emotions. Actually, it's such a human film, and so sincere in its in the way it was presented at times. It's just, it did go off. I must admit, for me, and it never quite recovered at all to the heights of the first nearly hour of the film. So that's why it's, you know, it's extremely high. But yet again, kind of, it's the one that it's not close to what I would have given it, you know, kind of, certainly not, it's not a film that I loved as much in its, you know, final act, mainly, but yes, you know, I do think it's a great film. Would I recommend it? Absolutely, and yes, just Another stunning film from Murnau overall, just wonderful. The way this film's shot, the editing, you know, it's quite dreamlike once again, no doubt, and it's a beautiful film that I took so much from, and I was certainly moved to the core by almost an hour of the film, or actually over an hour of the film, because you know the ended as well. But you know, I think overall, nothing after that 55-minute mark really is ever as good as that first, you know, part of the film. But yes, you know, it's a great film in my opinion. I do think it's a wonderful romance overall, and you know, I'm glad you know that you know this film. I saw this film finally, of course, and yes, you know, I certainly recommend it. You know, to anyone really, of course. And Master of Cinema, you know, releases are so great, and yes, just yes, a wonderful film overall. While not, you know, kind of living up to its potential of its first 55 minutes, as I've been saying, and it is flawed and it is a bit problematic in my opinion. It doesn't quite keep up the investment at all to what it was. I was adoring this film so much, but I do think it's a great film, and certainly will be you know, appearing on the favourite films list somewhere. And yes, among the Murnaus, it's not it's not you know, right at the top of his films. There are better films I think that he's made, and yeah, but just definitely one of his great films in my opinion. So yes, I will be reviewing Faust hopefully very soon, and you know, I have much to say about that one. Certainly so. That, you know, Faust was wow. You know, that was some film in my opinion, and yes, I really look forward to reviewing that, of course, and hearing some people's thoughts on the film as well. And yes, leave your thoughts in the comments if you've seen this, and what you think of the film, and Murnau, of course, overall, and you know, talk about his films as we do with these directors, these great directors, wonderful filmmakers, and this is certainly a great film from Murnau. So yes, as always, thanks for watching my review.